Chapter 17, Monday. On Monday morning, the boys woke up early, gathered their supplies, and headed to school about 15 minutes before the rest of the students started to arrive. George and Howard carried their stools and supplies into the boys' restroom upstairs and placed them inside one of the empty stalls. Finally, they closed the stall door and locked it. If you were standing outside the stall, looking underneath the door, it appeared as if somebody was sitting down in there taking care of business. George and Howard knew that nobody would dare go near this door, so it was now the safest place in the school to hide stuff. Soon, the students began arriving and the day started pretty much like normal. Mr. Crump marched up and down the hallways, screaming and making children cry. Keeper and his quips stole money and distributed waggies to the kindergarteners, and a general feeling of hopelessness and despair filled the morning air. At lunchtime, as usual, the darn children kindergarteners sat at their table with no food at all. Mr. Crump stormed up to the kindergarten table and started getting angry. "How come you kids never have any food at lunchtime?" he shouted. Said one kid. "We're on diets." "Oh," said Mr. Crump as he put his belts up over his giant stomach. "Well, good," he said. "It's important to stay fit and healthy like me." In the afternoon, George and Howard asked to be excused so they could use the restroom. They only had about 5 minutes to set things up, so they had to hurry. Howard opened the locked door of their secret restroom door, and George climbed up on the stairs. Quickly, they sneaked out into the hallway. George still walked over to Keeper's locker, and Howard handed him the long spool of self-lining paper. Carefully, George placed the paper on top of the lockers and rolled it down to the end. The paper flipped over the edge of the locker tops and rolled down the side. Howard caught it and taped it to the side of the lockers, marking off some measurables with a ruler. George put the padlock that he and Howard had bought on the end of the paper, 2 lockers down from Keeper's. They were ready. Quickly, they put their supplies back into the restroom door, locked the door, and hurried back to their classroom. At the end of the day, Keeper walked to his locker as usual. He unlocked his lock with the key hanging around his neck, then put his padlock on top of his locker, raised on top of the long roll of paper. George and Howard were standing about 6 lockers away, where Howard had taped the end of the paper to the side of the long row of lockers. Now came the tricky part. As Howard provided cover, George carefully pulled at the long roll of paper. The paper began to move. Keeper's padlock, which was just above Keeper's head, began to move away from Keeper. George and Howard's padlock, which was 2 lockers away, began moving toward Keeper. Howard had measured everything carefully, so George knew to pull the paper exactly 24 inches. When he was finished pulling, the new padlock was directly above Keeper's locker. Keeper had just finished stuffing all his stolen money into his duffel bag. He put his phone on the top shelf of his locker, closed the door, Then we shut up and grabbed George and Howard's padlock. Next, he closed the door and clicked the new padlock on securely. "Let's boogie," said Keeper to his buddies, and they shrugged through the gymnasium to get ready for wrestling practice. "That was awesome," said Howard. "Yeah," said George, "but we've still got a lot of work to do." George and Howard waited patiently until almost everybody had gone home. Some kids were still in the gym or outside or in the chess club downstairs, but the hallways and restrooms were empty. George and Howard sneaked over to Keeper's locker, unlocked their padlock, and opened the door. Howard unzipped Keeper's duffel bag and emptied all of the stolen money onto the floor. "Wow," said Howard. "There must be $1,000 here." Howard quickly scooped up the stolen cash while George typed it on Keeper's room. "What are you doing with that phone?" asked Howard. "I'm sending a text to Keeper's free goons," said George. Once the money was safe and the text was sent, George and Howard put everything back the way it was, with 2 additions. Howard put the sushi Sunshine Friendship Bracelet kit in Keeper's locker, and George placed it on an envelope beside Keeper's phone. Finally, George grabbed Keeper's padlock from the top of the lockers, closed the door, and locked it with Keeper's own padlock. Then they set everything up so it would be ready for tomorrow afternoon. "Let's get out of here," Howard said nervously. "Just one more thing," said George. Quickly, the boys sneaked into the gym locker room and left a second envelope inside one of Keeper's smelly shoes. Then they hurried out of the school and headed for home. "I kinda wish we could stay and watch the fireworks," said Howard. "I think it's better if we are not here," said George. "Things are about to get ugly." Chapter 18. Things Get Ugly. Keeper found the envelope in his shoe just after wrestling practice ended. He opened it. Inside were 2 friendship bracelets and a note addressed to him. Keeper proudly slipped each friendship bracelet onto his wrist and admired them. He couldn't wait to show his buddies, who were all out in the hallway staring at their phones in shock. "Look what I got," Keeper said, proudly waving his wrist at his goons.